So first pictures of our A finalists now getting ready up at the start. Just a minute to go here until we see the first of our medals races being underway. Australia, USA and Italy here going for 2 medals in the final of the under-19 women's Coxed fours. You can see already on the start line there, the Australians in lane 1. And the USA just backing onto the stake boat position now, with the Italians moving through there across your picture, ready to get into lane. And only 3 boats contesting this this A final. This is an event, the Coxed fours, that doesn't take place at any championships above the age group championships. So we see the Coxed fours at under 23 level and at under 19 level, but it's not an event that exists anymore in the senior program, Richie.
Yeah, I was just asking you there. It's unusual just to see 3 boats in a final here, and at the Europeans there was a couple of more crews entered, and I think some of the Australian crew, talking to Ray Boyle, who I used to row against back in the 90s. He's the coach of the Australian crew, and he was saying they're a little bit disappointed that it's just 3 boats here, but I'm sure they're going to give absolutely everything. In the preliminary race, we saw it was the USA taking the win ahead of Australia, and Italy back in 3rd. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes here in our first final of the day in the women's Coxed 4.
We just saw a great USA supporter here at the, we're placed just past the finish line, dressed in full USA flag brigade, and great to see so much support here. They are the reigning world champions in this crew, in this category even. This combination is Ella Wheeler, Rebecca Stelmach, Delaney Lundberg, Carly Brown and Cox Lucy Herrick there in the centre lane. Over on the far side, the Australians we saw earlier, represented by Chloe Driver in the bow seat, Charlotte Botha, Alexandra O'Brien, Imogen Gray, and in the Cox's seat, Chloe Ureta. Then representing Italy, sorry, there are the Americans on your screen now. We've just done the roll call for them. Coached by Elliot Skye, this crew getting ready to race. Then the Italians in lane number 3. Giulia Zaffanella in the bow seat, Matilda Orsetti in the 2 seat, Giulia Orefice in the 3 seat, Marta Orefice in the stroke seat, and Margherita Fanci in the Cox's seat. So hands go up in the Cox's seats. They're all sat up nice and straight, so the umpire can see that they are ready to go. The boots, those things that the bows are in, will be holding these boats nice and straight on the start line in this very blustery cross tailwind that we're now experiencing. A good challenge for these Coxed boats to get down the course.
Just underway now, and a perfect start. As you were saying, a little bit of comfort for the crews knowing that cup on the bow is there that holds them into position. They don't have to be worrying about making any final adjustments and making sure that they're straight down the track. Just underway now in the 4s race, and it looks like the Australian crew getting off to the quicker the start, but really side-by-side footage here, very little between the 3 crews as they come through the first 150 metres. All of the crews up at the high 40s. The Australian crew 46 strokes per minute coming off the start, so they're really going for it here, settling down now to 43, 44 strokes per minute as they come through 250.
Yeah, the settle is going to be really important here. These are heavier boat classes. You've got a Cox on board, but it's not like the 8s where you're sharing that between 8 rowing athletes. You're sharing that only between 4 rowing athletes. So you've got to make sure that you pace yourself very well. And it's the USA just emerging here as early gold medalists, but still a long way to go. Over 75% of this race yet to take place. Only 2 medals available if we've only got 3 crews contending. You have to be able to beat someone to get onto the podium. So the Italians currently looking in danger of missing out on a medal, but like we say, early stages yet, and they are starting to find quite a nice rhythm to run themselves back up towards the Australians.
So the USA up at 37 strokes per minute, matching them. It's the Australian crew also at 37. Very different styles of rowing here. The US boat stroked from the bow side with that continental rigging, so positions 2 and 3 on the same side, and bow and stroke on the same side on the bow side. The Italians now just coming up 500 into the 500 metres. They were in danger of losing touch with the Australian crew, but a little bit of a squeeze there coming back level, so they're very much in contention for the silver medal with the Australians at the moment.
Well, the Americans here in the centre of the course looking to defend that World Championship title for 2 years on the bounce. The World Championship best time also set last year by the Americans in Varese. That's a time of 6:52.84 that they set in that final. They've now got half a length over the Australians, who have managed to get themselves back out in front of Italy by just a mere few centimetres, but all looking very punchy, very aggressive, the style of the Australians here, actually, Richie. They're really kind of pushing it through the finish, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a crew boat here from one of the schools that are competing for Australia, coming all the way over here, and they're very much pushing on here to get into medal contention. But the Italians doing quite well now, and actually coming up to really push the Australian crew. The Americans doing enough there at the moment, with just 3/4 of a length coming up towards the halfway mark. This is a really competitive race, even though we just have 3 crews contesting the women's Coxed 4. Centre of the course, going with form. The winner of the preliminary race, it is USA, but all to play for, and very little between the Australian and the Italian crews side by side, as you see on screen here as well. No issues for this bigger boats with the crosswinds. They have that bit more stability, and especially with the Cox in the boat as well. And it's just going to help them compared to what we saw with the smaller boats earlier on in the semi-finals. Just coming through 1,000 metres, it is still the USA leading it out, and then it looks like Italy now moving into second place ahead of the Australian crew.
Yeah, here is the Italians pushing this second 500 metres of the race. You can just see nestled there in the bows, Margherita Fanci, the Cox of the Italian crew, should have been coaching this quartet onto the USA. I'm sure they won't be thinking about the Australians. They'll be thinking about that gold medal, going for gold, pushing themselves back onto the US. Now, the US Cox in an interesting position here. Lucy Herrick in the Cox's seat. She'll be able to see nothing out in front of her there. You can just see her poking her head out in the bows. So won't be able to see the Italians. She's taking a look to her right to have a look at the Australians, but maybe not realising that the Italians are right there and starting to push back now.
Really great race from the Italians here. A little bit worried when we were coming through the first few 100 metres that they were going to be off of the pace, but they've responded well in the middle part of this course. We're down coming towards 500 metres, and they're very much in contention here and look to have the better of the Australian crew with the run into about 600 metres left. It's still the high rating US crew up at 36 strokes per minute, really powering on here. You can see big puddles. The boat looks rigged like it's quite high compared to the other boats that are there, but it's certainly helping the USA crew here taking the lead, and they're doing their best to shake off the challenge that's coming from Italy and Australia. The Italians, though, I have to say I'm really impressed with them. I didn't think they'd be up there after watching the preliminary race and the start of it here, but they're really putting it up to the USA.
Yeah, they really are. The USA, we talked about them defending a title here. Only one returning member of that crew, Ella Wheeler, in the bow seat, a rower from the Northfield Mount Herman club and from South Orange. She is the only sole returner here who knows what it feels like to stand on top of the podium, and they're looking good at the moment for that podium position. But the Italians, like you say, is so impressive to keep themselves in this race. It's been a brilliant, gritty middle 1,000 here for them. We're now entering the final 400 metres or so, perhaps even less, and the Italians have got to go now or never here for this crew. The two twins there in the stern pair, Marta Orefice and Giulia Orefice, really having to push on the rating and take this crew up through the line.
So both of the, all three crews now up at 36, 37 strokes per minute. Huge encouragement from the crowd here. Big grandstands are absolutely packed, and all of the countries are cheering on their competitors here coming in towards the finish line. It's still the USA, they've led from the start, dishing it out here. Carly Brown in the stroke seat being backed up, but these Italian crew pushing all the way. The encouragement from the crowd is really going to get them on here. It's all to play for as they come into the line. It's going to be the Italians pushing all the way. Can the US hold on?
There must be 15 or so strokes to go here for the USA. You can just see how tired they are. They're slightly falling off that technical prowess that we saw in the first 1,500 metres. It's now just pure grit, determination, and it's so hard here. 2,000 metres. It's all going to come down to the wire. The Italians moving up through the ratings. They're at 39 strokes a minute here, pushing the USA for gold. But coming into the line, I think the USA are going to hold it by about half a length over the line. Gold medalists, world champions at the under-19 World Championships here, and it is an amazing performance there to hold off everything the Italians had to throw at them in silver medal positions. The Australians coming home in third.
What a fantastic finish there for the women's Coxed, for USA doing all the hard work there, leading it out from the start. A little bit ropey coming into the finish. I hope they won't mind me saying that. The blade work just started to go a little bit, but that just shows their commitment to getting out and getting that gold medal. But all credit to the Italians pushing all the way. Third place coming off at the start, recovering well and really putting increased pressure on the USA and just getting into within striking range. Australia, great race in third place as well, very competitive from them, and pushed them all the way to the line.